Let's talk about someone who keeps you at arm's length. You show up with warmth, you give them space, you're patient with their patterns, and yet nothing changes. You find yourself stuck in a loop. A loop where you keep proving your value to someone who refuses to see it. Now listen carefully. The moment someone makes you feel like your love is inconvenient, that's your moment of power, because people don't recognize value while it's always available. They recognize it when they feel its absence, and I'm not talking about playing games. I'm talking about walking in your truth. You see, if you want someone to finally wake up and see your worth, you have to stop overextending where you're undervalued. They're not going to wake up because you begged harder. They're going to wake up when your silence becomes louder than your effort. And here's the kicker, this isn't about making them change. It's about you remembering that you don't need to be chased to be chosen. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is step back with dignity and let the distance speak for itself. You don't need to scream your value, you just need to stop placing it in front of someone who keeps looking away. Let your absence echo what your presence kept soft, because the day you stop trying to earn love is the day you start attracting someone who already sees it in you, and maybe, just maybe, they'll finally realize what they kept pushing away. But by then, you'll be too rooted in your worth to wait for their awakening. Stop overproving yourself. When you keep showing up, explaining, fixing, giving, just to be seen or chosen, you're teaching them that your love needs convincing, that it needs defending, that it's something to be doubted, and love that has to beg for recognition will never feel safe. It will always feel one step away from being rejected. You might think that proving your loyalty will finally earn theirs. That if you show them how patient, kind, and giving you are, they'll finally wake up. But here's the truth. The more you chase validation, the more they devalue you what you bring, because effort that's always available becomes invisible. It's expected, it's taken for granted. The paradox is this: what we work so hard to prove often becomes the very thing they stop noticing. When you prove too much, you create imbalance. You become the one always reaching, always explaining, always holding space, and over time they stop reaching back. Not because they don't care, but because they've learned you'll always do the emotional heavy lifting. The silent message becomes, you need them more than they need you. But you don't, you never did. Your love is not a product that needs to be marketed. It's not a pitch that needs to be perfected. It's a presence that needs to be received genuinely and without pressure. Pull back not as a game, but as a declaration of self-worth. Let them feel the absence of your constant reassurance. Let them sit with their silence and your stillness, because only then can they begin to notice the weight of what you carried, the depth of what you offered, the peace that your presence gave. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop explaining, stop proving, stop reminding them what they already know but chose to ignore. If they can't see it without you shouting it, then they were never really looking. Let your worth speak without effort. Let your energy return to you. Let the love you keep giving away find its way home. Your absence can teach what your presence couldn't, because while you were there, always available, always giving, always understanding, they got used to the idea that you'd never leave. They got comfortable. Not necessarily out of malice, but out of habit. They stopped noticing the weight you carried, the effort you made, the peace you brought. You were the calm in their chaos, the consistency they didn't realize they were depending on. Until it was gone. Sometimes your presence is so soft, so steady, that it blends into the background of their life. They don't realize it's what kept the walls from caving in. They don't realize it's what made the silence feel safe. Because when you're always there, your value becomes part of the air they breathe, necessary but unnoticed. Until that air is taken away, that's when things shift. That's when they begin to feel the quiet you once filled. The emotional support that's no longer there, the space that once felt secure now feels uncertain, and in that emptiness something begins to echo. Your absence, it echoes louder than your words ever did. It says, I'm not waiting anymore. It says, you had something rare, and now it's gone. You see, some people don't learn by being told. They learn by feeling. They learn through contrast. The presence of something beautiful doesn't always shake them. But the absence of it, that leaves a mark. It forces reflection. It triggers awareness, not immediately, maybe, but eventually, because when the calls stop, when the messages don't come, when the energy disappears, they start to feel it. And for the first time, they ask themselves what they lost, what they overlooked, what they pushed away. You don't have to teach them with anger. You don't need to prove a point. You just need to let go. Let the silence do what your presence couldn't. Let the emptiness reveal what your fullness once masked. Because if they never truly saw you while you were there, maybe they'll finally see you when you're not. Don't chase attract, because the moment you start chasing, you shift the power. You place your value in someone else's hands, and you start believing that love has to be earned through effort. But real connection doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to presence, not the kind of presence that tries to prove something, but the kind that quietly knows, I am already enough. Being chosen isn't about bending yourself to fit their comfort. It's about being so grounded in your truth that you no longer feel the need to chase people who can't meet you there. You don't have to audition for love. You don't have to convince someone of your worth. The right people recognize it without persuasion. When you chase, you say, I need you to see me before I see myself. But when you attract, you say, I already know who I am. You'll either align with that or you won't. It's not arrogance. It's self-respect. It's the quiet refusal to overextend for someone who only offers you fragments in return. You attract by protecting your energy. You attract by knowing when to step back. You attract by showing up for yourself first. Because when you stand still in your worth, you become magnetic. Not because you're trying to impress, but because you're not afraid to walk alone until you're truly met. There's nothing more powerful than a person who no longer chases love, but instead invites it through alignment. Through boundaries, through clarity. You don't need to run after people to prove that you deserve to be chosen. The right one will never make you feel like you're trying too hard. They'll see your stillness and feel drawn in, not because you asked them to, but because your self-worth called to them silently. So stop chasing the ones who need to be convinced, and start becoming the person who is undeniable. The kind of person who makes others realize they have to rise in order to meet you. Value should be recognized freely. You shouldn't have to beg for the kind of love that's meant for you, because real love, honest love, doesn't need a spotlight or a performance. It doesn't ask you to shrink, twist, or over-explain. It sees you as you are and says, that's enough. If you have to constantly remind someone of your effort, then it's not love, it's convincing, and convincing is exhausting. It turns connection into a transaction. It makes your presence a negotiation. But love isn't something to be earned through struggle, silence, or sacrifice. It's not about proving you're good enough for someone who can't see your light. You are not a project that needs to be validated. You are not a backup plan waiting to be picked. The right people will feel your energy and choose to stay, not because you pushed them to, but because they recognize what you bring. You shouldn't have to stretch yourself thin just to be noticed. You shouldn't have to carry the relationship on your back while they stay distant and unsure. That's not love, that's imbalance, and imbalance always leads to burnout. It chips away at your confidence. It makes you question your worth when the truth is your worth was never the issue. They just weren't ready to receive it, or they weren't meant to, and that's okay. Because the kind of love that's meant for you will feel calm. It won't require explanations every step of the way. It won't make you feel like you're asking for too much when all you want is to be seen and valued. You don't have to shout your worth to someone who refuses to listen. The right love hears you in the quiet. It sees you in the small things. It recognizes the unspoken effort, the hidden pain, the depth beneath the surface. You deserve that kind of love, the kind that doesn't wait until you're gone to finally see your impact, the kind that doesn't need reminders to hold you close, because value, when it's truly seen, is never questioned. It's never delayed, it's never dismissed, it's embraced fully, freely, and without condition. Boundaries trigger awareness, they act like mirrors. When you draw a line, you're not pushing someone away. You're simply protecting what you've spent so long giving without return. People get used to your yes, they get used to your silence, they get used to your forgiveness, even when they haven't earned it. And over time, they stop questioning if their behavior is hurting you, because you've shown them how much you'll tolerate. But the moment you say no more, everything changes. When you stop tolerating emotional breadcrumbs, people are forced to confront your value. Because the steady supply of your presence is no longer guaranteed, the warmth they casually leaned on disappears, the access they took for granted closes, and that silence, that absence, it speaks louder than any argument. It tells them, I won't settle for less than what I give. Boundaries aren't walls, they're doors. They're invitations for people to rise, to meet you with intention instead of inconsistency. When you set a boundary, you don't lose people who truly value you. You lose the ones who benefited from your lack of limits. And that loss is not your burden, it's your clarity. It's the start of you choosing peace over patterns, respect over repetition, self-love over self-sacrifice. People might resist at first. They may test the boundary, they may act confused or even distant, but that reaction isn't your responsibility. It's just their discomfort with a version of you that now demands to be treated better. And in that discomfort, they either evolve or they exit. Either way, the boundary did its job, because you're not here to babysit someone's growth. You're here to honor your own. You're not here to chase love through broken agreements. You're here to receive love that honors your standards. Boundaries make people look inward. They shine a light on behavior they were never asked to change. They create space, and in that space, people get to decide. Do they show up differently, or do they keep showing you why the boundary was needed in the first place? Whatever they choose, you stay rooted. You stay grounded. You remember, your worth is not negotiable. And those who are meant for you will never see your boundaries as a threat. They'll see them as a map to loving you right. So in the end, remember this: you don't set boundaries to push people away. You set them to see who's willing to step up. You don't pull back to punish. You pull back to protect the love you've been offering too freely, because the right ones won't fear your boundaries. They'll respect them. They'll rise to meet them, and those who don't, they were never meant to hold space in the life you're building. You don't have to shrink, beg, or bend. Stand in your truth, stand in your worth, and let the boundary be the filter that separates the temporary from the true.